All right, we are back. It's time for that Davis show. It's been a little bit of time. We have a show last week, Ryan? We had a show last
We
week,
did
right?
not.
We did not have
We
a
did
show
not.
last week? Oh, man. We've had some technical difficulties on Ryan's side this time.
Yeah,
Send it to
I'm the
Tempe.
one.
Send your complaints to Tempe. It wasn't me. But we are back.
I
We'll
think
be back
you
with
sent it to Tempe,
I
actually.
sent it to Tempe with you. I was like, I sent the virus down there to Tempe. I shouldn't joke about the virus. But yeah, we're back bringing you your sports jokes and everything else under the sun that you get with Ryan and myself. My name is Kenneth Davis. Of course, I'm the host and basically the co-host. Well, I'm the co-host, and the other host is Ryan Bukoveski, also executive producer Ryan B-Ski and Ryan B-Ski 1 for the Instagram to soak up all of the B-Ski. You want to get all your B-Ski if you can get all of your B-Ski. This is how I
guy
feel.
with the laptop problems. That's what you
But look, you got it, and you're right back at it, man. You're determined. All right, you're determined. All right.
Yeah, I will let technology stop me.
Exactly. It's poo-poo technology. But yeah, we got definitely a lot to get into with baseball taking place on both sides of town. If you don't know, I mean, we're fans of baseball, but Ryan's a Cubs guy. I'm a Sox guy. Always, we do football talk. Also, make sure you check out the Understanding podcast on NBC Sports. And then maybe some up for grabs, and maybe that entail a little bit to this and a little bit to that. But let's go off top. I giggle because I'm sad on the inside, and this off top is about same old, and we've seen it recently with the footage revealed from Daunte Wright's being killed Sunday night in Minnesota, stopped by police, tried to get in his car and take off, and a lady officer shot him. Right now, Chief Gannon said it is our belief that the officer meant to deploy their taser, but shot him in with a single bullet. Daunte Wright was shot in the side, closed the door, took off, and crashed his vehicle, I believe, 3 blocks or several blocks down the street where he died. That's terrible. You get tired of seeing young men in situations that if anybody else was in that situation, they wouldn't have been murdered, even if it's accidental. You wouldn't have went to that. I've seen too many other situations where excessive force, or deadly force is what I should say. Deadly force isn't the first option or the third option. That person can live another day. And I think if you don't understand that, I hate to say that's what we're asking for, because as a human being, you should have to ask for anything when it comes to your own civil rights. And then it's compounded by the footage of Second Lieutenant Caron Nazario that was in Windsor, VA in December, but it's a lawsuit coming out. And also the officer, if you haven't seen that, he's a lieutenant in full Army fatigue, regalia, pulled over, pepper sprayed. All he's doing is calmly asking the officers, why is he being treated this way? When they open his car door, his SUV door, they ask him to unbuckle his seatbelt, and he basically says, you unbuckle it, because, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to come off as I'm reaching for anything. That police officer, Joe Gutierrez, was fired today. So, I mean, that's good that his actions caused him to get fired, and we didn't have to play around and wait. Still is a lawsuit, and this man has to have to come under litigation is what I'm trying to say. But it's just simply getting to the fact, and a lot of times, and I hate to say this as a black male with black children, a lot of times when these things first happen, I kind of scroll past them initially, because depending on, do I want to get into my emotions right at that time? Maybe I'm working or doing something, and I know that if I let my mind jump into something that's as important as those two actions that were happening to those men, that maybe I become distraught, I become angry, and at that moment, I necessarily don't want to do that. And that's somewhat of a flaw, to be honest with you, because if it was shoes on the foot, I want everybody to kind of pay attention to what's happening to me, especially if I was killed. I think the gist, because a lot of times, like, I don't come here as a man asking anybody for shit. So I'm not really asking. I'm just pointing out that everything should be even. That's not asking a lot. Again, I'm not asking. But if you're complaining, well, why is this? Why is that? Because clearly everything isn't even. And we've seen everybody else wants their evens. And even to say, is that hard of an even to say, can I go home tonight? That's not asking a lot. Like sometimes I think we all live in our own silos and vacuums. And when we hear anyone else complain, and it's like, here they go again. I think we all can have that type of reaction. I'm not putting it just on anybody. I'm looking in the mirror at myself. But I know in my heart, I understand everybody asking for evens. And it's not a lot asking as an even that Black people aren't killed at a disproportional rate than anybody else at a traffic stop. That's all I'm really pointing out. It's ridiculous. We know that these games with the Timberwolves, the Wild, and the Twins and their opponents were postponed tonight. Shout out to those leagues, and that's cool, but that's not really what's most important to me right now, even as a sports talking head. It's just evens, man. That's what needs to be, and across the board for everybody. It still can be some things that are disproportionately wrong, but life shouldn't be like that.
I think you said it great. I mean, the only time I guess you should lose your life is when you put other people's lives in danger. That is true and obvious. I mean, I'm so against deadly force. I always think you need to go other options before you go there, just because it's a slippery slope. And, man, for me, I'm getting just tired of seeing this stuff. I'm tired of seeing politics being corrupt. I'm tired of seeing disproportionate wealth. I mean, you just look at these things as you get older, and you just see like nothing ever seems to change with that stuff. No one's really trying to improve. Everyone just wants to, like you said, be in their vacuum, be in their silo, worry about themselves. And then if someone brings up anything, well, I got it tough too. I mean, no one's saying who's got it easy. Even if you've got a great life, you're going to go through hardships, period. End of story. There's no such thing as life being super perfect and easy for anybody and everybody. I mean, it's not a thing. So respect people, empathize with people. Maybe you have it a little bit better than somebody, and maybe we can't compare it because it's just not appropriate to, or just because we don't have the volume or metrics to do it. But we should be respecting each other and knowing that no matter what, everyone's had a bad day.
And listen, and I am in total agreement with what you're saying. But even more, the point that I'm just trying to say is everyone deserves the right to go home. We always hear police officers, and this isn't a police officer bashing segment, but we always hear police officers say, man, I'm just trying to get home. Other people are trying to get home too. Everyone's not a bandit. Everyone's not some quote unquote super thug. It's a lot of Black and brown males to be honest with you, I shouldn't have to point out that they are on the right side of the law. You can be on the wrong side of the law and still not deserve to be killed.
Yeah,
that's your constitutional right. And it's like, because we, especially when it comes to minorities, and listen, as a minority, I'm triggered to look at, well, what was he doing wrong? He did run back into the car. That doesn't mean he did. Just because he's Black and he runs back into the car does not make it because he's suspicious. He's a Black man getting back into the car. We're all about to die. No, it doesn't make it right to kill that man. And everybody deserves to make it home. Like that's just the truth of the matter. Every single body, the gentleman, the Black guy at the Capitol building 2 weeks ago, that killed the officer. I forget how many, if not a couple, was injured. Guess what? Those officers deserve to make it home. And but until across the board, you are seeing, like, to take the yoke away from your eyes, to see, you know what? I may not like this person. I may not like his people, but they are people. Because I'm not asking anybody to be my best friend. I respect people and I ask for respect to be reciprocated. But in that respect, that includes my civil rights. And that's not asking a lot. I mean, it's like some of the things that I feel like we were in, and this isn't a flip show, but it turned into it because it's important. Some stuff that you're asking for, like, I understand somewhat. All right. I'm gonna give y'all a bone with this one. I can understand some of the complexities of reparations and how that discussion may need to be broken down, even though Hey, anybody else in this world? Listen, Haiti was still playing France just 20, 40 years ago. All right, Haiti. All right. So you can't tell me something from 80, 90 years ago or 100 something years, 110 years ago that it shouldn't still be taken care of. And that's not the discussion for the day. I know that can be somewhat complex. And I can even understand some people being like, hey, I ain't had nothing to do with it. But still, your government pays other people debts from 100 years ago that you don't care about them paying. But that's not even what I'm talking about, because this isn't complex. Let me get to the crib. Like, just because you're having listen, I have bad days, and I have to remind myself with my kids, don't take it out on them. And I'm not to say I'm the type of person where I usually do that, but even not being that type of person, I know that if I'm agitated, that I can allow that agitation to affect how I interact with others. And being on lockdown, I'm with my family majority of the time. I'm with my family all of the time. And
it's very human to do that.
Yes, it's very human to be triggered and allow yourself being triggered to let that energy go on to somebody else, let alone if you have power over that person and you feel that person isn't in accordance to you. So that's the problem too. The power dynamic. Having power doesn't mean that if you feel like someone isn't doing exactly what you say, that you should manipulate that power. As someone that has power to really show the full control of the power, that's when you refrain from the manipulation unless that person is threatening you. But that's all. I don't want this to be as long as it has been. Unless
Can I say one last thing?
Of course you can. Of course you can, bro.
I want people to kind of listen to this example. Like, when you hear somebody stealing in some of these foreign countries, and let's say the penalty is you lose a hand, we aghast. We go, oh, how could you? What a ruthless government. We're killing people, y'all, for stealing.
Not even stealing.
People for stealing, or for threat of stealing, or attempted, or the baseless, vagary of stealing. I mean, we got to recalibrate here. And I hear a lot too many people say, if someone came into my house, I have the right to shoot them dead. And maybe in a way, I understand some of that, but man, I don't know. Stuff is just.
Again, I'm not talking about stealing. I'm talking about just simple traffic.
Yeah, I'm saying when you said the stealing part before, even if you're on the wrong side of the law, you don't deserve to go home.
You don't deserve it. Listen, definitely, Ryan, and I'm agreeing with you on that. Just you got to factor in what somebody's life is worth. Somebody stealing something out of my garage. I called a dude in my garage. 20 was it last year? It may have been 2019 or the beginning of 2020. I called a guy in my garage. I told him, I better not ever catch you in my garage again because I got a family here. But how did me bucking him down?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's taking it to it's just we're losing contact with the fact that we're all human beings and we're all here on this blue marble for a short period of time. And we a lot of us who aren't social elites out here fighting over scraps and taking out our aggressions on one another, let alone each other. And it's just it's sad, but that's it. I don't even.
Let's go home, y'all. Let's go home.
That's a good one. Let's go home. Let's go home. So let's jump into some sports. The Boys of Summer, even though it's not summertime, the Boys of Summer kicked off this last week. It's been up and down on both sides of town. I was just watching the Sox game. Let me tell you something terrible. The Sox,
I'm
Hawks,
ready to unload on this Cubs team.
The Sox, the Hawks, and the Blackhawks. I mean, the Sox, the Bulls, and the Blackhawks are all playing at the same time, right? I had to watch. Before we start the show, I was watching my Sox on standard definition. Ooh, it was hard.
Why?
Because their third channel isn't they don't have an HD for it.
Oh, sweet Lord.
You can't even see the pitching the pitching box. You can't even, it's so faint. I mean, dude, it was this is hard to watch, man.
That used to be us back in the day.
I know, right? Adam E. But see, the problem was our TVs.
What's this high definition thing?
Our TVs weren't as great as they are now with as many lines as they have. So it really jumps out when you're on standard with these 4K televisions.
True.
But Adam Eaton hit another one right before the show started. The Sox, I believe, were up 3-2 versus the Cleveland baseball team.
Kansas City.
No, tonight's Cleveland.
Oh, tonight. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about yesterday. Sorry.
No. I'm about to get into that one in a second. Carlos Rodon got scratched for an upset stomach, and Dallas Keuchel had to step in. Again, there's only been 2 runs scored by Cleveland. Sox, listen, tonight they're straight. You know, I'm not mad with the Sox. When you look at the fact, I believe they're leading baseball in walks, in their third and on base in the AL. Though, if they can continue those numbers, man, when everybody comes back, at least not everybody except Eloy, because we know Eloy's not coming back anytime soon until maybe August. But you get Timmy back, and you get Angle back. You know, even when you get Hamilton back, you're cooking a little bit more grease. Now the series against Kansas City, you could have swept them yesterday, man. Shout out to Zach Collins. As backstop defensively, he stopped a lot of stray balls yesterday, and that's something we never expected to see from Zach Collins. So shout out to Zach Collins. Definitely, you can see that he's definitely doing a lot of work with his new stance coming off his knee. A lot of movement right there, or flexibility right there. Your main Mercedes walking yesterday. It's a lot to like about what's happening with the Sox, even though their record isn't where we want it to be. Because really the problem's been a couple blow-ups in the bullpen over the last week. This bullpen's action. Oh, Tony Russa leaving Matt Foster in too long.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, bummer. And I guess, and also Liam Hendriks. But I feel like Liam Hendriks is just pushing himself too hard right now. Because, I mean, the gas is there. Every now, if the gas wasn't there, I'd be like, oh, snap, right? The gas was there. He blew a second save. Yeah, he blew a second save. It's early. I said it on Sean and Maya with Sean this morning. It's early, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to take your time. You got to let these guys get used to Tony Russa, and Tony Russa get used to these guys. But I don't feel right now that there's a ton of worry just yet on the South side.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'm not even worried about the bullpen. I think they're going to be fine. If there's anything I'm worried about, it's the defense. And I don't know how much better that gets when you put Tim Anderson instead of Lurie at short. I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if that's now the Achilles heel to be worried about come playoff time. It's not going to stop them from contending and winning the division. I don't think the bullpen's really much to worry about. I mean, if the trends keep continuing, maybe, but Kopech is killing it out of the bullpen. It's not like it's just you're throwing guys out there and everyone's getting canned and hit or everything. No, it's just a couple blown opportunities, like you said. But that defense, that's the only thing I'm a little worried about. They need to bring those errors down a little bit and just be a little bit more consistent, because I can see that being a problem.
Well, listen, to be honest with you, one of them, they're going along with the defense, but I'll name one particular player in general. And this goes to defense and base running. Nick Madrigal is going to Nick Madrigal. I mean, now, the sample size says that he's going to have an issue slightly defensively. He's definitely above average at second. But when it comes to base running, which he's supposed to be above average, he's suspect. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I think he presses way too much. He's always looked worried. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's always looked like the Gooch is about to pull up on him for Different Strokes fans for back in the day, right? You know, he does, man. And to me, he always presses, and there's going to be guys within this core team that aren't the guys that we think they were going to be. And I mean, he looks like one of the candidates necessarily to be one of those guys who, you know, his ceiling. All these guys aren't going to reach their ceiling, and he definitely is one of those guys. And not to say he had a huge ceiling, but you thought he was going to be a on-base guy, a guy that can definitely run the bases and be a very good second baseman defensively. We haven't seen any of that.
And look, take it from a Cubs fan who had all these players, and we were riding high, and then everyone was saying, look, not all these kids are going to make it. Besides that factor, maybe, not to bring up bad memories or anything like that, but Addison Russell, he did go through a period where he was a pretty good player. Maybe that's still in the cards for
I thought about that. I thought about Addison today, actually, who, since I've checked him out today, since I thought about him, is taking his tools to Mexico. To think about somebody that people say was going to be an MVP and an alleged abuser, even though I think most of us believe what his wife had to say. A guy, just shows you how the mighty have fallen. And I'm not even talking about it from an off the field standpoint. And I'm sure sometimes the off the field can affect the on the field. And this guy got hurt by injuries too, but see Tiger Woods. But yeah, some of these guys, Eloy is another one of those guys that I had this last year that I was kind of like, we'll see if he's going to be exact, if he's going to be closer to, and I'm not saying automatically this guy, but this Manny Ramirez type. You know what I'm saying?
Ram, one of my favorites.
Yeah. If he's going to Manny being Manny, but he's going to be one of those guys. Right now, Yohan Moncada is playing like 2018 Yohan Moncada. And listen, another guy, right? Like you can have at least outside of Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson, 1.5 of these guys have to be stars. All right. Like one, I have to say it too. Lou Bob better be a star, right? Like, oh my goodness. If Lou Bob, I hope, I'm not trying to say,
are we saying,
listen, I'll settle for Fred McGriff.
Well, what about
with a better defense?
I don't think he'll beat this. What about like a Javi? Like maybe a little wild at the plate, but such a wizard.
I'll take. But he has to be more consistent than Javi has been since the 2018 season. You know what I'm saying? Like he has to have more hots where it's like, oh yeah, that more that MVP lack of
freak kind of thing
shined upon him. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm just you gotta have it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have it. But I mean, when you look at the fact that guys that I think some of us White Sox fans have given up on is Zach Collins and Yerman Mercedes. And these guys have
can your main be your 1.5?
You say what?
Can your main be your 1.5? My goodness.
If he could do it for 4 or 5 years.
If this is permanent.
Right? Yeah. If this dude is if this is who he is, like
Louise.
Yeah, if he's that guy, yeah. I mean, because this is one of the things too. I'll say this. Hopefully, a couple of those guys, Yermin being that one, maybe one of those players, can end up being guys where you was like, whoa, I didn't know he was this. Because that's kind of what hurt the Cubs too. All right.
Yeah.
Because if you really look at it,
who was that guy that you didn't know about that came through and rocked the world?
But see, think about the guys they've given up. And I'm not to say that everybody could have helped the Cubs, but Glaber isn't everything the Yankees thought he was going to be, right?
Yeah. That's looking like a good trade for a World Series,
right? Eloy keeps getting hurt, and Dylan Cease has stuff, but he hasn't found it. Even though he had a good game, he kind of had a good game yesterday. What was it? 4 2/3. I think he struck out forgot how many he struck out.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, but it's Dylan Cease being Dylan Cease. Well, Dylan Cease struck out 6 yesterday in 4 1/3. He gave up 4 hits, but he threw 90 pitches with 50 strikes. But he always has that one inning. But still, that's still not something. I'm not saying you don't need these players. I'm not saying the Cubs wouldn't be better having these bodies. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
But none of them have come back to haunt you like you gave up Fernando Tatis Jr.
No, that has not happened yet.
Right, that hasn't happened yet. So, but the point that I was trying to make, what you would hope would have happened with the Cubs, was that some of the other guys in the system would have turned out to be studs. Like guys that were lower down on baseball perspectives, but lo and behold, look at what we have here in our farm.
The only guy is really Kyle Hendriks. He was the only one. He was a very low-rated prospect, and I mean, he's not an ace, but he's pretty darn good.
Oh, pitcher. He's damn good. He's damn good. You know what I'm saying? You can get that, You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
You got you one. You got you one.
You want to hit on like 60% of your mains in
right.
the minor league system, and then you try to fill that void with some of the guys that no one's talking about. Like, look at this guy.
And
like, the Cubs shouldn't have gotten rid of DJ LeMahieu.
And free agency. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, but there's still, listen, it's early. And that means that's on both sides of the town as we switch over to do a little.
See, the only thing I have with the early, with the Cubs, as we switch over to them, we've been talking about bad offense for a long time now.
True.
Like, this isn't one season. This isn't 2 seasons. What's this? I feel like LeBron. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. Like, it just keeps going and going. I mean, yes, I'm not one of those people that's buying that they have no talent and these guys can't turn it around and they can't get hot for a while. But this offense, I know I was saying this back when this was Dean Davis. Right now, they are trotting out the same people to do the same things to fix a broken offense. And I just am not a big believer in that. Maybe they can come out of it. It's not impossible. I'm not poo-pooing all that because you're right. It is early. But we are relying on the same people to do different things that they haven't been doing for quite a while now.
Well, hopefully someone like Jock Peterson can be a lightning rod like you thought he was going to be in spring training. Right. Because if you get somebody to get really freaky with it, you know what I'm saying?
If one of those guys could just be a stable point in the lineup with your freaky guy, now you're cooking a little bit.
I'm with you. It kind of also goes to, Joe wasn't doing this. Joe wasn't doing that. Joe wasn't spending enough time with the players before games. He was too busy talking to the media. You know what I'm saying? Joe isn't here now. Now, last year was a season that was cut due to the pandemic. But still, you got in 60 games under your new manager, David Ross. And now it's time to see when you make those changes, what are you going to do? What changes did you implement that weren't well under Joe, or Joe didn't take to, that you're trying to implement now, and how effective are they? And then after that, you got to look in the mirror, because Jed was there too. Now, this isn't like a new front office. Jed was there, even though the buck stopped with Theo. Jed was still there, so I'm sure a lot of his plans went into what they were doing, and they didn't come to fruition. Listen, also on top of that, look at the last Saturday and Sunday's games with Zach Davies and Trevor Williams. Didn't get it done against Pittsburgh and PNC. And listen, you got to beat up on it. But listen, at least with the Royals, the Sox took 2. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like you have
Same with the Mariners.
Yeah,
at least
you have to
winning the series.
You have to. I think they split that one though. But
I thought they won that one.
No,
I thought they had the chance at the sweep.
They can. No, I don't believe they had the chance of the sweep yesterday. The thing was this, Ryan? They lost 2. They gave up 2 to the Mariners with 2 blown. The bullpen blew it twice with the Mariners in the 8th.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah, but even with that, dude, you got to get up on your high horse. I need more runs. And again, I was talking about the Sox, but we're still talking about the Cubs.
Oh wait, no. The Sox had a chance to sweep. They lost Game 3.
It was just Game 3.
Yeah, they only played a 3-game series. Those 4-game was LA.
Thank you. That's why I dipped out. I apologize for being wrong.
It happened.
It happens. But look. I gotta give a sunny side for the Cubs, but look at what Alex Mills has been doing. Though.
I mean, Craig Kimball's been really good.
Yes, he has been. Yes, he has been
terrific. That's a revelation at closer. That's not
coming back from last year. How he had got his job back, and it seems like he's still.
If you could score some runs, you'd at least have a guy to close it.
And if he makes himself viable, if the Cubs are out of the picture by the trade deadline, that may bring back an asset that in the future can benefit you. So, I mean, it's better when you paid him that money after the 60 games to come in here and be a closer, gave him a 3-year contract. That if you can pimp him off for something, let alone if he can help you just get into the playoffs, and preferably help you get into the playoffs. But if it seems like, because I'll say this much, man, I mean, it can hurt them because these guys they don't have any more time when I'm talking about Javi and Chris Bryant. You know what I'm saying? But if you move on from some of these guys and package them together, you look at what's the back catcher?
Before Victor Caratini?
Not Victor Caratini right now.
Oh, Wilson Contreras?
Thank you, Wilson Contreras.
I thought you said backup catcher.
No, I mean, just you can move some of these cats and get some assets. If you're gonna really rebuild it, they don't have bad assets, but still, it's not as bad as what it seems to me up on the north side. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's your heart, so it's different when it's your heart.
Pitching staff, I'm not concerned yet. I didn't like those starts that you talked about with Davies and Williams. But let's give that some time. Bullpen, I'm not upset with. It hasn't been great, but there's been some positives. Only thing I'm poo-pooing is just the idea that, and, it can happen, but is Chris Bryant going to suddenly be a staple in your lineup? Is Anthony Rizzo going to turn back the clock and go back to at least 2018? The last year he was probably pretty all-star level good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys have to start being consistent in the lineup. It's one thing to have a few guys that are wild cards but are really good players when they're hot. But the White Sox aren't doing anything if Jose Abreu isn't there and being consistent every single game. Tim Anderson the same. You need some of those guys. They have way too many guys that are so hot and cold, and right now they're all running cold. Yeah, in a couple of weeks we might be doing the Hot Cubs offense show. But I'm telling you, after watching this team for this many years since 16 and 17, I mean, it is hard for me to really believe that they're going to just be super consistent. Like, I am just a believer in they have to make some kind of change. Even if they don't want to, you've got to change this thing up.
So what would you do, Ryan?
I would at least ride the ship to the deadline because I don't think you can do much with the present value of everybody. But I would probably make it an effort unless it was just you were getting absolutely nothing. But I would try to trade somebody within that lineup between Javi, Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras, Anthony Rizzo, Ian Happ. Some of these younger players that have value, or even if they're going on their contract year, they have at least some cachet around the league, and just shake it up. I mean, it's one thing if you're contending. I'll at least say, you got to wait. But by the deadline, if you're not really contending for wild card or division, I don't think you keep playing around with this. I mean, isn't that by then the sample size too great with this many years and this much lackluster play from everybody? You just got to do something.
I'll say this. It may be a situation where if you want to get as much as you possibly can, you go before the trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, if they get hot and they're going, maybe you consider it. I mean, I think everything should be on the table. But one thing that's been on the table consistently is they're going to work through this. We need to stop looking at that card with such faith.
It just got this on the Bleacher Report just said that Zach Greinke threw a 50-mile-per-hour curveball for one of the slowest strikes ever.
Nice. Love hearing those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like a knuckleball from hell.
It's still, listen, again, we'll revisit this by the end of May. I mean, not to say we're still going to talk baseball every week, but as far as really knowing the directions that these teams are going in, to be honest with you, they still can get into June and go on a streak and have some of the best records in either league. You know how baseball is. So it's still early. But I do get you with the sample size has been for seasons. And I've been there where, I knew the White Sox weren't shit. And as far as but you on paper, it was like, but look, they have this guy. I mean, it looked like they should be decent, but you knew in your heart, it really was like, that ain't decent. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like that. That's like, it looks good, but that's losing baseball, basically, when you're going to look at the record at the end of the season. So I definitely still understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, we'll see. You're right. It's still early. It's a long season, and it's after a COVID season. So let's at least give them a shot.
All right. It's time to get to the beloved, even though maybe I should stop calling them that because they don't love us back. And that is the draft in the Chicago Bears. Man, listen, definitely check out the Undersitter podcast. Shout out to Alex Shapiro, Eric Strobel, Adam Hogue, Brad Fossler, and Tony Gill over at NBC Sports Chicago. Definitely, I think we're going to have a guy on it this week that kind of has a algorithm with how he breaks down quarterbacks coming out of college. So it'll be interesting. I'll bring that information back over here after we have that interview. But yeah, man, we're what? I think we're probably like about 17 days, maybe 17 to 16 days away from the draft.
Yeah.
Listen, don't call me. I'm turning my phone. I'm halfway turning my phone off. All right. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. Maybe we'll do a flip on the weekend. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But we
Let's
probably
see how this first round
we could
goes.
probably come in for 45 minutes real quick and drop the show. But also I'm gonna have a lot of under center stuff around that time.
Well,
but that's
if they do something insane like draft, I don't know, somebody I just can't stand, I might be too depressed to do a flip that weekend.
Damn you! But yeah, so definitely looking forward to the draft. I don't know.
Are you looking forward to the Bears draft, though?
I'm slightly, because we haven't had them in the first round.
Yeah,
it's nothing worse than
taking that Thursday off.
No, it's nothing worse than a build through the draft sports, which most sports are in particular now. You didn't say that necessarily about baseball 5 or 6 years ago, but we know now that the ratings of prospects is like, I'm not giving that up for that DH, just compared to what would have happened a decade ago. You know what I'm saying? It's just the value on, prospects, and those are prospects, not just draft picks. But yeah, you want to have more bites at the apple, and the first round is the greatest bite. So to finally, after the Khalil Mack trade, get your first round pick back, yeah, I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll even come out, now listen, this is full BS. I'll even come out with some sunny side. The Bears was 8-8. Maybe they'll find some players that can give them 2 wins.
Oh boy!
In this, I know I haven't said that.
Like
it burns my mouth. It burns my mouth to say it.
I grew up, but all right, let's go.
Listen, but it's just a fact. If they stand pat at 20, they draft best player available, as far as if it's a tackle in the trenches. Again, preferably if you listen to the last Under Center podcast, I wouldn't prefer a defensive player. If somebody like a Patrick Surtain fell to you with that value, I can understand taking him at 20. I can understand it. It is sexy in a way because it's a big ass corner. It's like maybe another Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? So it's sexy, but it's not where you usually want to go. It's not as sexy as like an edge rusher. You know what I'm saying? But I guess I would probably say, and that was the question was, best case scenario and what you think will happen. Best case scenario, they would get a top flight receiver, one of the top 3, Chase, Waddle, or Smith, right? Worst case, Kadarius Toney from Florida, but I've been a Tevin Jenkins guy from Oklahoma State for months now. I would like them to go tackle. My only problem with going tackle is this. I mean, hopefully, of course, if you're not getting Penei Sewell, all of those other kids got to start it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe just the tape, and it tells you, like, you're going to put him in his right position at left tackle. His draft grade is high enough to where you think even in the NFL, he can come and start at that position. But that's still my fear if someone tried to take one of these tackles and play them at left. And I know none of us are Charles Leno Jr. fans, but I don't know about a rookie in that position compared to Charles Leno Jr. right now. So if you're saying that you're going,
do you even think there's a question there? I think Charles Leno is the starter, no doubt.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. If you're telling me, which I believe so, like I said, if it's not Penei Sewell, that the rest of these guys are going to start it right, then I'm setting you hope down in the future, perhaps next season, this kid would be able to pop over and go to left. Again, it's not sexy, but you have to build through the line. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to build through the trenches, I should say, both offensive and defensive side of the ball. So it wouldn't make me mad. But knowing that they want this offense to explode, I look at it that they're probably going to go with the offensive player. And it's probably going to be tackle or receiver. That's kind of how I feel if they stay put at 20. I will say this, and I mentioned to you before the show, I think whichever Trey Lance or Justin Fields, whichever one falls, because I swear if Mac Jones falls, the Bears better not move up to get Mac Jones. But if oh boy, imagine everyone's gone but Mac Jones, and you hear at number 13, the Chargers are hold on. Doon, 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 doon. The Chargers have traded their pick to the Bears. Right? The Bears are selecting Mac Jones at 13. I'll be like, mother effer, right? Sorry.
I mean, if he's the one, sure, but I like Mac Jones at 20. I don't like him before that.
I don't like Mac Jones at 20 because the Bears don't have the offensive line to protect Mac Jones. They don't. All right, that's they
right.
don't.
You let Andy just get his brains beaten in year one, and then you come back with Mac Jones.
Dude, I'm just saying, if Mac Jones is my option, I don't think the Bears have the tools when it comes to offensive coordination, and I mean this from Matt Nagy, not Bill Lazor. I don't think they have the tools to for him to properly reach his potential. I wouldn't do it, but I believe Kyle Shanahan is an offensive mastermind, and Matt Jones fits the style of quarterback that we've seen him have success with in the past. So I could see San Francisco trading up to get Mac Jones because they're trying to solidify that position because basically Jimmy Garoppolo cost them a Super Bowl. You know, you had Baby Goat having his worst game and Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't complete a pass, a deep bomb, you know? So again, I get why the 49ers are doing it, even though they may not go that high to get it done. But I still, if you see your guy, go get him. But I still think that we could see, and I'll say Justin Fields for now because it seems like Trey Lance has jumped over Justin Fields for some reason, even though he hasn't played. And mind you, this is the home of Trey Lance, Ryan and myself. All right, this is Trey Lance.
We said it here first. No
yeah,
doubt.
We've been rallying for Trey Lance for about 2 years. About 2 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least I was into Trey Lance in 2018. And as soon as I came back, we were talking about him.
So we were on Trey Lance. So I'm not dissing Trey Lance and saying I'm not a fan. I think Trey Lance, out of all these quarterbacks, needs a season to sit down at least. But I see them going after Justin Fields, man. I do. I see the Bears sitting there and be like, okay, Russell Wilson. I'm not saying that Justin Fields is going to be great or anything, but I see them identify him as their guy. And listen, it'd be crazy as hell for Ryan Pace to go through all of that and tell us about machinations and tell us about the difference in his quarterback evaluations and to bring us a stiff in Mac Jones. Like, you listen. All right,
we know why he would draft him. He'd have the Drew Brees all over. Oh, we can't miss Drew again.
You know, listen, as soon as we hear rumors of Mac Jones pulling up in that Camry, we already know that Ryan Pace is going to move the heavens. But yeah, I'll say that. I think that they're going to draft night. I mean, I'm not saying it like this is crazy that you're saying this. They were going to give up a haul for Russell Wilson if they were given an opportunity.
Right.
I think they're going to sit there and do the damn thing and try to go after Judge. Whichever one of those two fall, they're going to go after him. And the crazy, I'll say this too. It's how bad it is. I would love to know this, how they rated them all and which one they had rated higher and how much was there a separation between those ratings? Because it'll tell us if, let's just say they were rated similar and one was just a few points above the other. Okay, you get whichever one that falls. But if there's a schism between the two and you still, because the fifth guy failed and you jumped up to get him out of desperation of just wanting a quarterback, that's probably a bad decision also, you know, and it'll be, I don't know if we'll ever find it out, but I am interested in if that does come to fruition as far as the Bears getting a quarterback in this draft. I would love for Adam Hogue or any of these other journalists that are always there pressing the Bears to get down.
Oh, they will. We found out Mahomes Trubisky. We'll find out about that too.
Yeah. So
I love your plan. If Fields and Lance are there, go for it. Go for it. I'm totally fine with that. I hate the idea of defensive player. I really do. If we draft a corner, the Bears, then, I mean, isn't that redrafting Jalen Johnson, who was one of your first-round picks from last year? I mean, I get it. You have a hole there because of Kyle Fuller, but you also spent money on Desmond Trufant, and you have some guys there that you've been drafting. I have a huge problem with not, because you're right. I think that they want to score points. And how are they going to score points? They need an offensive line that can block better, or they need receivers that can make, or running backs, whatever, that can make plays with the football in their hands, and especially not downfield, because Andy Dalton's probably not going to get it to him downfield. They have to be able to make some plays in the intermediate, in the short, like Devin Hester back in the day takes a slant to the house. They need some more of that type stuff where you can really make some plays. And I like the Tony guy from Florida. He's one of my favorites.
Tony. Yeah. Hasn't been, had a little injury history, though.
Yes, definitely. But I really like his potential. Your best case scenarios are great. I will say, if it is a defensive player, if it's one of these guys that really get pushed down because all the quarterbacks get drafted, you definitely have to consider that. Because if you're talking about a guy that should have been gone, let's say top 10, but all the quarterbacks pushed him down and put him around where you are at, yeah, you have to consider taking that player for sure, no matter what the position is. And to your point earlier, best player available at 20. But for me, I'm going – I love the idea of first 3 rounds offense. I mean, this defense you spent so much money on. You spent – we just talked about it, Khalil Mack trade. That took years to get out of that. You have spent so much assets on this defense. You have to complement it. Like, they're not going to be shut down elite no matter what you want them to do. So you need an offense that can complement them being maybe pretty good or very good. And then it all works really well if an offense is complementing that defense. But if you're going to just put in assets for that defense and have an offense that supposedly your guru is going to solve, like, get out of here. Come on. What are we talking about?
And listen, to go with the cornerback thing too, remember, and he made it to this. He ended up in the second round because of his shoulder, and his shoulder's hurt again now with Jalen Johnson. But Ryan Pace did get him in the second round. And you can, if you want to look for another corner, even though to try to start 2 young corners, Jalen Johnson definitely looked good. He had a couple lumps last year. You're talking about somebody that's green. At least Jalen Johnson had a Pro Bowl veteran on the opposite side of him. You know what I'm saying? And man, think about how often teams went after Jalen Johnson last year. That'd still be a lot, you know. So maybe you want to wait to the 3rd or the 4th and kind of get a developmental guy that can still be a body, that maybe can play a little nickel, maybe do a little special teams as far as corner. But you do look at him being a frontline starter in a season or 2, you know, that has terrific tangibles and nice traits. And still use those really first picks, kind of going what you're saying, as far as you have to improve this offense. And listen, you may not, if they move up to get a quarterback, they're probably not even going to have a 2nd or a 3rd in this year's draft. Like one of those is probably going. You would prefer it to be the 4th, but one of them's probably going with that first round pick, or 2 first-round picks, depending on what they have to do to move up, because there's going to be other teams that are going to be wanting to move up who have better draft capital as far as being ahead of the Bears in the draft when you look at perhaps a New England and a Denver. You know what I'm saying? So I'm afraid.
Night. It might be a wild night.
That's what we want. You know what I'm saying? And I think we gotta wait. We gotta wait all the way to 20.
If it's boring and you get a tackle and right tackle solidified and all the other starting spots are solidified because you're going to put Sam Mustipher at center and he looked really good with that interior combination, that's a huge progression for this offense. So even the boring is fine with me, but it's got to be the smart.
And then in swing, you now at depth, you're going to have Jermaine Ifedi, when he moved out to right tackle, it helped solidify it, and Alex Barr. You know, so to go along with what you're saying, even if that rookie can't get it done, you got a guy in Ifedi that you know right now is decent at playing right tackle right now. Mm-hmm. So it may not be super sexy, but if you can start off with a nice offensive line, like you can start hearing about the Bears having a top 13, 14 offensive line compared to what they've had during Matt Nagy's stay there, you can maybe do some things on offense that you necessarily haven't been able to do in the past with a quarterback who is decent in Andy Dalton.
Right. I mean, you got a couple of backs. You've got a tight end in Cole Kmet you're hoping is good, and Jimmy Graham's a red zone. He's a red zone threat. You've got Allen Robinson, unless you trade him, but he's gonna or he sits out. But no matter what,
he's not sitting out. He signed his tag.
Okay, my bad. Then there you go. Yeah, so you got Allen Robinson.
When that Kenny Galladay flirtation came back, like 2 days later after Galladay went out east, here comes Allen Robinson. Like, I'll sign that right now. Especially when you see that most of these receivers weren't getting paid. So that 18 mil is a lot sexier than what happened if they take that franchise tag back, take the papers back. So let me get my 18 and then I'll skedaddle up out of here or whatever. And it also still gives them the ability to negotiate with them. So he's going to be here this season. The question will be he be here after this season?
And then you throw him with Darnell Mooney. They don't have a ton of depth at wide receiver. I thought you guys did a great job talking about that on the Under Center podcast. But you throw a guy in there, and then with all the other pieces I mentioned, can Andy throw some medium passes and some screen passes like Mitch, and maybe it'll be a little bit better because you have playmakers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's had more success in the NFL than our last two quarterbacks, as consistently. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm not an Andy Dalton. I'm not an Andy Dalton guy. You just call me on a good day, and I'm breathing in roses rather than poo-pooing on everything. Because listen, we got to see it too. I mean, I believe the proof is in the pudding. Excuse me. I believe the proof is in the pudding, and we've seen what Matt Nagy can do. But we'll see. You know what I'm saying? It's a different quarterback. Perhaps he'll be better. Listen, if he can be above average, consistently above average, and not be the cause of a stagnant or turnover-prone offense, that's a lot for what the Bears have been dealing with the last few seasons.
Yeah, can't disagree with that at all. Give me Andy Dalton Bengals. I'll take that.
Yeah, early, like Carson Palmer just left 2 years ago. Andy Dalton Bengals, all right, like that. Just got moved off to the Raiders. Give me that. You know what I'm saying? Because
that red rocket.
Yeah, that red rocket hasn't been red rocking in the way that he needs to be rocking it, man. It ain't. Oh my goodness! And I don't even want to go into it, but to think you could have had him for $3 million instead of trading a 4th round pick. But wait. That's neither here nor there. Let's not dwell on the past.
Our quarterbacks here with 4th round picks.
It's what we do. Instead of investing those picks in the draft for quarterbacks, we like to do it with guys that are washed up. All right, that we know. We know them.
We can trade for these guys.
These guys are drafting them. Listen, they're drafting them, and they could be on rookie deals. We're drafting these guys, and they got huge lump sums of monies in their contracts already.
Look at that security we have.
All right, guys, you know what time it is, man. It's time to go to Ryan Bukovetsky, and it's time to go up for grabs.
And with my up for grabs, I'm going to start with the hometown Chicago Bulls and wanted your take because they had 2 horrible losses in a row with the Atlanta Hawks, but way worse was the Minnesota Timberwolves with the worst record in all of the NBA. And really, the Bulls became within 1 in that game. In the 4th quarter, had a 5-point lead with 7 minutes left against the Hawks. Are we seeing the Bulls imploding, or are they still coming together for a run at the play-in or playoffs?
You're seeing they're running against teams that have better overall talent. I'm not saying they're better overall teams, but you look at Atlanta, they got a lot. And Atlanta's like 3rd or 4th in the East right now? Atlanta's improved.
That's like a horrible one. It's more so bad because they had a lead late.
Oh, no. Listen, I saw, Atlanta, that first half, oh my goodness. I turned the game on. I'm looking on my phone and stuff, and I'm looking, Zach just did what? Zach just did what? Zach had 39 points in the first half. I think he finished with 50, though. So that means he only had like 11 more points in the second half. Zach, you got to close it out, bro. That's when, and then you saw that Trae Young went and closed that BI out. You can't now you have, and again, it's early. And I know that's what I just said about baseball. And you're like, it's not early, but it's early after you make the trades that they've traded for these players to become a cohesive unit. And this isn't even like these are grizzled vets. These are somewhat younger players outside of Vucevic. You know what I'm saying? And he hasn't been in winning situations consistently. Excuse me. So it's still early. The Timberwolves, who have more talent when you look at where the players was drafted. It showed you, and we can all be happy that we actually have us a star center, but it showed you its limitations, because I remember a couple of times watching that Bulls Timberwolves game. I was like, whoa, Cat! Like, damn, Cat, why you can't do that? Like, why you can't be a dog and do that? Listen, Karl Anthony Towns, he went down the lane one time and it with an ill layup, but then he came another time and tomahawked the living out that mother, right? And we're talking about a 7'1" cat coming off the top and shooting. Oh my God, he is so immensely talented. It's infuriating to see. And I see Karl Anthony Towns. I know we're talking about the Bulls. I see Karl Anthony Towns. My first thought is like, man, if only he had a dog to lead him. And I was like, he did, Jimmy Butler. And he bristled under that leadership, right? Maybe he'll wisen up, and he, you know what I'm saying, either he'll get it or he'll get a vet that can really help him out, because man, that kid, if he puts it together with his aggression consistently, I mean, I think we've always felt like that. I mean, since he's been in the league, he's been one of the most talented bigs in the league. But yeah, that's really the thing. He's
one of the biggest waste of talent right now in all of the NBA.
But see, I won't say waste, because waste to me mean that you don't even put up the numbers. You know what I'm saying?
It's a little hard. But waste to me is, and you're right, he's got all the pieces except for the dog.
All of it. You know what I'm saying? Waste to me is what I know he's done well. Wiggins with Golden State this season, but like a waste was what he was doing all that time when he was in Minnesota, because he wasn't even giving you what you were paid for. Like on paper, Karl Anthony Towns gives you what his salary is, but as far as the win column, he doesn't affect. But see, again, and it still is on him, because even though you were big and people are like, well, somebody's got to give you the ball, you still, like, when Kevin Garnett was there, he would have gotten more out of this team. That's not to say that they were world beaters, because they couldn't get out of the first round. But Kevin Garnett didn't have a lot of talent around him. You got to think, they thought they can do something with Kevin Garnett and Wally Szczerbiak. They actually, and I know I'm supposed to be talking about the Bulls, they actually messed up draft capital, Kevin McHale, with signing Joe Smith to an illegal contract. Joe Smith, they had to hold on to Joe Smith, all right? Like, it's just some of the bungling things that they did when Kevin Garnett was in his prime is just the most ridiculousness of all ridiculousness. All right, the Steph wanted to get out of there, you know, just ridiculousness. But still, here with the Bulls, Wally Szczerbiak. When I saw him at the NC, when I saw him doing the tournament,
that's all I can think of.
I was like, damn, KG, you got to be upset, right? I was like, that's the first thing. If I was KG, it's all, I'd be like, this mother right here. But and then they sent him to be.
Oh my God! I thought the exact same thing when I saw Wally. Like, you wasted KG, you idiot.
But yeah, you saw Karl Anthony Towns give Vucevic that business, and you're gonna see that with any skilled, athletic big for the most part, especially if they can take it off the dribble, let alone if they got some post moves. Listen, the Bulls did what they needed to do. I'm not looking at this season to a certain degree based off of did Vucevic and these other players propel them into the playoffs, because it may have been a situation of taking one step backwards to take two steps forwards. Hopefully it's 3 steps forwards. So I'm not looking at it like that, but it's sad that their record after the All-Star break has been tragic, to say the least.
How about Liam Hendriks, our Southside Slider? What do you got?
That Santana. Oof. I'm Homer yesterday. And listen, it was bad business because he was missing. I mean, it was gas, but it was like, dude, that's like 10 inches away from the strike zone, right? Like, oh my goodness. It was either up or to the side, right? And it was like, okay, this isn't, he's pressing. And then when he gave that bad boy up, it was like, damn.
Well, you know what? His tarot card reader had the exact same thoughts in reading his tarot cards and saying that him, along with the rest of the White Sox, are pressing too much and pressing too hard. And it was really interesting hearing how Liam has his personal tarot card reader She actually predicted that he would get the deal that he got from the White Sox in a way, saying you'd get a $50 million contract in free agency, which he did, 3-year, 54, and also convinced him to, or at least put an input to fire his agent, which he did. And yeah.
He needs to stop letting that lady control his life.
Hendriks believes in the tarot cards. So that's my question. When in doubt, should we look to the cards?
I know. You better stop messing with that Satan words now. No. Listen, I think, man, listen, what if his tarot card reader is just an avid baseball fan and knows what she's talking about, right?
See, but that's the thing. She's not a baseball fan whatsoever. She actually calls the mound the mount.
Is she Australian too?
I don't know 100%, but I believe so.
Well, then them cards is right. It's some power in them cards right there, Ryan. Them cards is right.
Yo, Liam, I need a reading.
Let me call Miss Cleo up and see about getting those lottery numbers for the night real quick.
Right.
Hey,
you got to pitch better from the mount.
I didn't even know that. But, yeah, they are pressing like an MFer, especially him and some of those pitches out of the bullpen. But, yeah, I'm not worried about him, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully, I hope she tells him that that he's relaxing and that influences him to relax, right? Just like she told him to get rid of the agent. So I'm like, yeah, you relaxed. And even though he's not, he's like, you're right, I am relaxed. And there he can it's some type of pseudo type of mind trick, and he can go out there and become more relaxed. But yeah, if it's working, keep going with it. Shit. Fuck it.
Southside Slider. I love that nickname.
Okay, what else you got?
That's all I got for Up for Grabs here today.
All right. Well, great Up for Grabs. I did not know about the tarot card reader. I wonder how much he has to pay for that. Like, does he pay the rates that you would if you called this lady and you have to pay those rates? Does he just pay that, or does he get the premium package? Right.
Let me throw another thing on top of you. Let's say you are seeing this tarot card person and paying her X amount, and then she predicts you get a $50 million contract at free agency. Does she get even extra on top of that?
I'll hit her with about 20.
So does that kind of make her a personal trainer? Does that kind of become the package?
One. Good point. Great point. Damn, I didn't think he had to hit her. I would think if she said you're going to get 50, he would have had to hit her with some extra just to be like, you're right. But you don't want to overdo it.
He got 54, so he had 4 to play with that he didn't think he was going to get.
I don't think he's giving her $1 million.
No, right? Well, what about 100K? 50K?
I don't know about that. Like I said, 20K. 20K to me is here because she predicted it, but he was gonna get it regardless because his talent got him that. Right? Like it wasn't like she caused it. She just said she quote unquote saw it, which maybe she did. She's predicting the future. That doesn't mean she's creating. This was
a young Liam Hendriks that was just raking sand out in Australia and had no idea, man. Went to the tarot card reader. One day, son, $50 million.
Listen, what could she have done if Alex Colomé was being a free agent? Would it have come to fruition? Like, I'm just saying, like.
Well, we all know that she put a spell on Colomé.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I was just about to say, right? No, the most she could get out of me. I
need 25 rat tails to get this guy out of this outside.
Is probably 80K. I don't even want to give her 100 because Liam Hendriks' talent got him that contract. And also the need in the market. She didn't get him that contract. She just quote unquote saw it.
You might be playing with the cards a little bit there. You don't want to disrespect the cards.
All right, Brian. On that note, we'll be back with the flip this weekend. Hopefully,
you heard it here first. Cards. Ken disrespected you.
Yeah, if that's what you want to say. I'm not letting anything have power over me, especially inanimate objects. Sorry. Ooh. Oh, Mr. Davis, you want some trouble now? But yeah, we're back with the flip. Always appreciate you spending a little bit of your time. Make sure you check this out. Make sure you also check out the Under Center podcast. Follow Ryan at Ryan Beesky and Ryan Beesky1 on Instagram, and follow me on That Davis on all platforms. As always, be safe and don't do anything crazy before